And we're just recording for people who can't make it this evening. So, for those of you who don't know me, who haven't been to one of my lovely webinars yet or met me in person, I'm Laura Piercy. I'm one of the associate directors of LSWAP, and part of my role is to do with pathways and progression and destinations. And I do lots and lots of stuff about UCAS. If Loads of stuff about UCAS, which is where you might have seen me before. So lots of things about university routes. But one thing that we don't put enough emphasis on, we started to integrate much more into our careers and pathways advice at the swap. I think we're doing a really good job of it now. But historically, we haven't done quite so much work on apprenticeships. And that's reflected not just at the swap, but all across Camden, where apprenticeship applications aren't as high as we'd like them to be. So, this webinar this evening is just part of trying to widen out that understanding of what apprenticeships are, and not only what they are, but how do you find them? How do you apply for them? What's the process? Because, as I said, I think most people know or have an awareness of the university application process, and the university application process is all run through UCAS, so it's really straightforward, whereas apprenticeships are a bit more challenging, a bit more difficult to find and to apply for. So I'm going to run through the presentation this evening. During that time, if you've got any questions, please do drop them in the Q&A. If you hover over the bottom of the screen, you'll see the little Q&A box appear there. Please do use that. If you've got any questions that are really, really specific, so are very specific to a particular young person or a particular situation, and you maybe don't want to ask in front of everyone this evening, then my email address will be at the end. You can just email me, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So we will get started. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. So just really establishing the very, very basics of what apprenticeships are before we continue. So after year 13, students have a choice that's really similar and really echoes the end of year 11. So those choices tend to be one of three things: either further academic study, so going to university or to further education to college, going straight into work, or going into some kind of occupational study. And that is what we are focusing on this evening. We're focusing on apprenticeships, and so work combined with occupational study. Uh, at the swap, just to give you a picture of what our students do, one of the reasons that university tends to dominate conversations is most of our students do go to university. About 75% of the swap students. That's not true across the country. The national picture is much, much lower, more like 38% of students, 35 to 38% of students. But at the swap, we have lots of students who go on to a university course. We also have a good number of students who go on to further education. So Art Foundation is very popular at the SWAB. Some of our students go on to other colleges or they go on elsewhere. We have a lot of students who take a gap year. And then come back to us during that gap year to either support a university application or an apprenticeship application or something else. Apprenticeships are obviously what we're talking about this evening. And of course, there is also full-time work option, which is less common than the other things. A few key dates that you need to be aware of. So we do still recommend, I'll say this a couple of times in this presentation, we do recommend that all students make a backup UCAS application. So if they're currently in year 12 and doing a level 3 qualification, so if they're doing a level 3 BTEC or a T level or A levels, we do advise they make a backup application for UCAS, just because sometimes they change their mind and then it means they're not doing it at the last minute. The deadline for that isn't until the middle of January, although it always comes around quicker than you expect, and our internal deadline for that is 5th of December. However, apprenticeship applications, just like college and FE applications, don't have a common deadline. They vary by company, they vary by position. So this is one of the things that makes it a little bit trickier. It is up to the student to do that research and to find out when those apprenticeship applications open and close, because we don't get a list. There's no kind of published, these are all the apprenticeships and here's when they all open and here's when they all close. They are essentially jobs, so they are as unique and individual as any job application is. But that does make it a little bit awkward. There are a few people and a few places that you can go that tries to make that a little bit easier, and I'll talk about some of those this evening. But overall, it is a more complex process than uni to start with, just because of that variation in the application times and window. So, I'll do a little bit of an overview then of what apprenticeships are. They are a full-time combination of work and study, but there is a lot more work than study. So, it is work with part-time study is the best way to think of it. So, there are lots of different types of apprenticeships. The ones that we tend to focus on at the Swap are either higher and advanced apprenticeships or degree apprenticeships. Degree apprenticeships are the ones that get the most press coverage, they're the ones that people tend to know the most about. But there are actually not that many degree apprenticeships really compared to apprenticeships as a whole that are out there. So we would recommend that students don't get too focused on it has to be a degree apprenticeship or nothing, because they may actually be missing out on some really good opportunities there. Um, Apprenticeships are available in a huge range of sectors, but not all. And again, I'll come back to that a little bit later. And this website here, which I'm going to go through. I will have we'll have a little live search later on. This is something that definitely needs to be bookmarked. It is a list of pretty much all the apprenticeships available. It's not very pretty because it's a government website, but it is quite functional, and it is the best place really to start your apprenticeship search. And you can sign up for alerts from this as well for particular sectors or particular location and things like that. I should have said at the start, sorry. These slides will be available. If you want the slides afterwards, you can just drop me an email. So don't worry too much about taking everything down for now. I'm more than happy to send them out. So one thing to be aware of with an apprenticeship is that it is a real job with a full contract of employment and all the expectations that come with such a thing. They are full time. That means that they are a minimum of 30 hours a week. They are usually full-time hours, so 35, 37 hours. They are usually office hours. Every day. But again, that does depend a little bit on sector. Some apprenticeships are slightly different to that. And if you take an apprenticeship in something like beauty and hairdressing, for example, you will need to expect to work Saturdays. But apprenticeships that are in more that are sort of in office type industries, businessy type industries, will tend to be office hours. You will often get study weeks where you will then go to college or university for a week or so. So you'll do 8 weeks with your employer, and then you might have 5 days where you're on some kind of release, where you go and do some university or some college. Another way it's structured is sometimes you'll do 4 days in work and 1 day off at university or college. And again, that varies slightly depending on the employer and on the position that you've taken at the company and on how that employer works with either the college or the uni that they are affiliated with. They will be affiliated with a college or a uni because apprenticeships always come with some kind of professional qualification attached, which is of course, one of the benefits of them. They are in a specific sector for a specific employer. So you can't do an apprenticeship in science. You can't legally, you can't do an apprenticeship in plumbing. You have to do an apprenticeship in a specific role at a specific employer. That does mean that they aren't suitable for all students, which we'll talk about later on, because you do have to have quite a strong idea about what you want to do, certainly for the next year or so, or an apprenticeship won't be suitable for you. As I've already said, it includes a sector-specific qualification, and that can be all the way from a level 2 qualification, so GCSE equivalent, all the way up to a degree or even a postgraduate qualification, again, depending on the employer and the role. Apprenticeship contracts tend to last between 1 year and 6 years. I think I've seen some that are 9 months, which is quite unusual. They're usually a year, 18 months, or 5 years. And the more advanced the apprenticeship, the longer the contract is the rough rule. So if you're looking at a lower level apprenticeship, a level 1, sorry, a level 2, a level 3 type apprenticeship, then you will be looking at maybe around 12 to 18 months. If you're looking at a degree apprenticeship, it will be several years because obviously it takes you 3 years to get your degree full time. So if you're working alongside it, then it's going to take quite a while to get that. So just to repeat what I've just said, 5 years for degree apprenticeships, 12 to 18 months for the slightly lower level ones. One of the reasons, of course, that degree apprenticeships attract so much attention and that they are so desirable is because you get your degree, but you pay no tuition fees and you earn a wage. So you're essentially getting your university degree. You don't need a loan. Firstly, because you don't need to pay for that degree, and second, so you don't need a fees loan, you don't need a maintenance loan because you're earning money. The money that you're earning will be much more than a maintenance loan would be, and you don't have to pay it back. So there are, that's here are a couple of really good reasons there to consider a degree apprenticeship already. However, as I've said, you don't need to go straight into a degree apprenticeship, especially if you're not quite sure exactly on the sector you want to do. You could do a level 3 or a level 4 apprenticeship, so an A-level equivalent or slightly over A-level equivalent apprenticeship for 18 months, 12, 18 months. You could then after that decide that you do want to go to university. That's totally fine. You can still get your loans and go off to uni, or you can do another apprenticeship or which actually most people do, they go into full-time work because people tend to get offered a job after they have done their apprenticeship, and that's the goal, of course. Lots of sectors are actively promoting apprenticeship learning. But something to be really aware of, and we do want students to be aware of this before they start their apprenticeship journey, is that some apprenticeships are extremely competitive. Now, all apprenticeships are quite competitive, but some are very competitive. If you think about it again in comparison to university, which I will be doing quite a lot this evening, when you apply for a place on a university course, that course is going to have, a dozen, a couple of dozen, even up to a couple of hundred, depending on the uni and the course of spaces available. Whereas an apprenticeship might only have a handful of spots available. It might even only have one. So the competition tends to be higher from the beginning, which can make it quite challenging to apply for an apprenticeship. It is not an easy route, and it can be quite difficult for students who decide to go down this route, although it's very, very worthwhile. Obviously, really well-known companies such as Google are going to be super competitive because they're famous and everyone's heard of them, and it is much harder to get an apprenticeship there than get a place at Oxbridge. But not every apprenticeship is quite that competitive, and there are plenty around to apply for. The other thing to bear in mind is sometimes people think of apprenticeships as being a school leaver thing, and they're not at all. Apprenticeships are available to anyone. Of any age. And actually, most apprenticeships, the vast majority of apprenticeships do go to people who are over 19. A lot of them go to people changing jobs, career changes. And that is something to bear in mind when you do apply for your apprenticeship. Again, if you don't get the first one that you apply for, you probably won't get the first one that you apply for. But that is often because you are competing against people who sometimes have work experience or, have are older and have more experience of interviews and things like that. So don't be too demoralized. So here is a quick overview of most of the apprenticeships available. There is something called a foundation apprenticeship as well that's been introduced. That is for students who don't have many qualifications at any level, so that won't be suitable for the swap students because all of our students will have level 2 qualifications or level 3 qualifications. So intermediate apprenticeships are the lowest ones that we would look at for the swap students. That usually comes with an NVQ or a BTEC qualification, level 2, so it gives you a GCSE equivalent qualification. You usually need about 2 GCSEs to apply for that, and they're really good for people who want to start off in an industry, who have done with education, they want to get out into an industry. Level three and level four, as I say, are the ones that we tend to recommend. Level three is equivalent to two A level. You get a qualification equivalent to two A levels. Again, it can be a BTEC or a an MVQ, something like that. And you usually need five GCSEs at a five or above to apply for a level three. And for a level four, you usually need level three qualifications, so either a BTEC, T level, or A levels. And level six and seven, level six degree level, level seven, which is sort of going into postgraduate level, are the degree level ones that I've already talked about a little bit. They are often very competitive, often pretty well paid, competitively paid, but there aren't that many of them around. So for our for our students, for our A-level students who are looking at apprenticeships, sometimes I think they feel that an advanced apprenticeship is a bit of a sideways step and they're a little bit reluctant. But that's not the case at all, because it might be the same level of qualification, but it is much more specialized and it is in an industry and you're also getting work experience. So it's a very, very different situation to being in school. Looking then at what kind of things are available as apprenticeships. So the vast majority of apprenticeships are in the business and admin sector. So if you're interested in working in that kind of sector, you will very likely find an apprenticeship that is suitable for you. Health and public services have quite a lot of apprenticeships, mainly around social care and early years. So early years education and social care, and some nursing and nurse and that type of allied health apprenticeships. We're starting to get more of those as well. IT, retail, although it's retail management, and that's the most common. And there are actually loads of apprenticeships doing all different kinds of things that are technically retail apprenticeships, but they're certainly not working on a shop floor. They're to do with all different kinds of things around retail business. Engineering and construction. Marketing, we're seeing quite a lot coming through. Digital marketing having quite a lot of apprenticeships available. And finally, legal services. So you can't do an apprenticeship and be a lawyer. At the minute, really, but there are legal services apprenticeships that are really well placed if you want to work in the legal sector, doing something else that's not being a lawyer or a barrister. However, there are also sectors that don't have many apprenticeships. And if you are looking for work, if you're looking for a career in one of these areas, then it's probably apprenticeship route is probably not the best route for you. It is probably better to go down a degree route for some of these, or a interning and work-based route for some of the others. So science and mathematics. Very few apprenticeships available. Social sciences, so sociology, psychology, criminology, same. Those subjects you are best off going to university. Animal care, you are best, so some things like veterinary nursing, you are best off going and doing a veterinary nursing qualification at college, and then going into work. And arts, media, and publishing, unfortunately, and this does affect a lot of Elder Swap students because we have lots of students on creative courses, lots of students who are really interested in doing creative apprenticeships, but there just aren't that many around. Unfortunately, arts and media industries do rely a lot on voluntary work and interning, and therefore they don't offer a lot of apprenticeships at the moment. Just to contextualize that, 23, 24, about just you'll see the chart in a minute. Nearly 80,000 people started a business or admin apprenticeship, but less than 3,000 people started an arts or media apprenticeship. So it is not a great way to access those apprenticeships. Unfortunately, hopefully they will catch up with the other sectors. And there's my the little chart that I talked about there. So you can see business admin and law right up here. Again, health and public services, lots there. And then right down here at the bottom, we have less uh, sectors with the fewest starts, the fewest apprenticeship starts in those areas. So we know what apprenticeships are. We know what kind of level they are. So hopefully you're thinking about, if you were going to apply, where would you be looking at applying? What kind of level? You know what it's going to involve roughly. So how do you work out if you are a good candidate for an apprenticeship? Well, the first thing to consider is, do I want to work full time every day? Because because you absolutely will. And this can be a bit tough, especially if you've got friends who are all going off to uni and and don't have a full time timetable because university isn't full time, it's not 9 to 5. You will have to drag yourself out of bed and go there every day. Do I want to work with adults? There, you might be one of a very small number of apprentices at a company, so you will mainly be working with adults. Do I take feedback well? You are there to learn. It is an apprenticeship. An apprentice, by its very nature, is someone who is learning to do something. So you have to be ready to listen and to take feedback and to use that feedback to improve. This is a tough one. Am I resilient? Can I handle rejection and criticism? Because you are very unlikely to get the first apprenticeship that you go for. So you have to be able to to pick yourself back up and say, right, what did I do well? What did I not do quite so well? Be prepared to ask your interviewer or the company for some feedback, to change your CV, to change your application, and to work on that. Most people doing apprenticeships, especially level 3 apprenticeships, tend to live at home while they're doing them because at level 3, they're not hugely well paid. You may find it difficult, especially in London, to certainly to rent a place on your own. Are you able to live at home for a few years until you get established? That's not a case for all young people. If you are, that's great. If not, then do look at your options. Make sure that you look at how much you're getting paid and work out if it is financially doable for you. Am I done with full-time education? A real reason I think when I speak to most people who want to do apprenticeships, the reason they give me is I'm fed up of school. I don't want to do any more education. I don't want to go to university, and it's a great reason. University is 3 more years of full-time education. That's not what everyone wants, and it's not what everyone should be doing. Work may be much, much more suited to you. Do I know what I want to do for a career? You don't need to know exactly, but you do need to have a bit of an idea. So again, one benefit to university is you can do a really broad course. So you can go to university and study biology or history or English literature, which you obviously can't do an apprenticeship in such a broad thing. So you have to be able to narrow it down. You have to be able to say, well, actually, I do want to look at legal services. I do want to look at civil engineering. I do want to look at digital marketing. You've got to be able to focus a bit on what you might want to do. Obviously, if you do that apprenticeship and you decide that you didn't really like it, then you've still got a qualification at the end of it. You've still got a year or 18 months of work experience. You can take that and go and do something else afterwards. You're not locked into it for life. But it is much better to finish an apprenticeship that you start. It is a you can leave if you want to. They won't, they're not going to lock you in a filing cabinet. But if you do leave, of course, you won't get the qualification or anything that comes along with it. So if you can finish it, it is better to finish it, unless you're having a horrible time, of course. So benefits then, I think a lot of these are sort of implicit in what I've already said, but you get a qualification and you get paid at the same time. There is a big range of sectors to work in. Not all of them, but a big range of sectors to work in. You get straight into work. You have up to date on the job training, and I can't stress this enough. The people training you are the people doing those jobs right now. So the information that you're getting, the training that you're getting is absolutely bang up to date. So if you're going into, digital services, if you're going into tech, if whatever you're going into, even if if you think about something like retail management, the systems that you're using, the information that you're getting could not be more up to date because it's literally happening now. So it's you are going to come out of that apprenticeship in a really, really strong position to then apply for a job because you can say to, your next employer, well, I've learned to do all these things. I can do all this stuff and I can prove it because I've got this apprenticeship. There is good access to jobs afterwards. A lot of employers who offer apprenticeships keep them on, even if they don't, because they can't keep them all on. They have links and networks with other employers that they can put you in touch with. You are ahead of your peers in terms of experience. You have as I've just said, hands-on real experience. The people going to university have an academic experience, an intellectual experience. You've got quite a different kind of experience, a more practical one. And obviously, if you do a degree level apprenticeship, you have no university debt. Your university debt can run to £9,500 a year for your tuition fees. It can run up to, if you get the maximum amount of maintenance loan, that's £13,000 a year. So, although there are loads of benefits to going to university, it is undoubtedly expensive, and you won't have that as an apprentice, if you do the degree one. However, of course, it's not for everyone. Your employer will expect you to work hard. You cannot skive, you can't skive in the way that you can a bit at university. Like if you go to university and you miss a lecture, then you're probably not going to get chased for that lecture. The uni will just let you. So it depends on the type of university and which university you go to. But sometimes they will let you miss stuff until you fail, and then you just have to leave, and then you've wasted loads of money. But you just can't skive in an apprenticeship. There's nowhere to hide. Your employer is expecting hard work all the time because you're not in a lecture hall of 100 people or 50 people. You're not in a year group of 150 people or a class of 25. You are maybe one of two, five, 10 people there. The hours are much longer than education. At the minute, if you're doing full-time level three course, you're doing three A levels or you're doing your BTEC or whatever combination you're doing, you are not in school full time. You have study periods, and even when you don't have study, even on days when you don't have study periods, the latest you can go to is 4 o'clock on 2 days and 3 o'clock on 3 days, and work is not like that. You have to be able to self-manage. You have to be there on time every day. You've got to follow instructions. You've got to do what you're told. Professional standards are expected. Um, and just linked into that, if you are not able to do those things, if you're not able to turn up on time, if you're not able to follow instructions, they can let you go, like any employee. Um, Applications have to be done individually. That's what I said at the top of the presentation. They can be time consuming and lengthy. Um, Again, one of the benefits to university, you do one application, one personal statement, you send it to 5 universities through UCAS. UCAS for apprenticeships doesn't exist. They are working on it. And actually, you will see now, if you log into UCAS, there are some apprenticeships that you can apply for. They are beta testing, sort of an apprenticeship hub in UCAS, but it's nowhere near where it is where they're hoping it's going to be or where it is for applying to uni. So it is a different sort of application process. Competitive, you've got to be resilient. You have to pay tax and national insurance on your earnings because it is a job, so you will be taxed like any job. And as I've already said, there aren't apprenticeships in every sector. So where do you go? So you've decided now, actually, this sounds right for me. I do want to do an apprenticeship, or at least I want to start applying for some and see what it's like. So you need to be prepared not to get your first one. The main things, the best things that you can do are to sign up for keyword alerts that will email you and tell you when opportunities are available, because because they're easy to miss. As I say, they're spread all over the internet, spread across different websites. You can't sit and look through, all apprenticeships online every day. So signing up for keyword alerts with an email address that you check often is the best thing to do. So sign up with government apprenticeships, which I'll show you in a minute. You can also sign up with like Camden apprenticeships and quite a few more places. There's a load of links at the end of this presentation. And another really good thing to do is to sign up directly with sectors and businesses that you're interested in. So if you're interested in engineering, you might sign up with BT, with Openreach. If you're interested in the civil service, if you're interested in accounting or whatever, sign up directly with those institutions. Find apprenticeships regularly to see what kind of things are available, hours, wages, all that kind of business. Check the start dates carefully, of course. You can't start until you finish school. So if you're currently year 12, then you need to be looking for things that are summer 2026 start. If you're year 13, obviously you'll be looking for something that starts straight away. But do check the start dates and don't get yourself into a tangle by applying for something that you can't actually start. Um, Apply for lots of positions, even if they're not perfect on paper or on screen. Apply for things to get the practice in. And treat applications like a homework or a job. This is my top tip, I think. So if you decide you're going to apply for an apprenticeship, say to yourself, right, I am going to dedicate 3 hours a week to applying for apprenticeships to start with, and you might increase that as you go. Use Monday period three if you're going into year 13, so you're currently year 12. In September, when we're banging on about UCAS again indefinitely, say to your tutor, I'm not applying to university. I'm going to use this time to do my apprenticeship applications, but also dedicate, as I say, a certain amount. If you look at your study hours through the week, if you're free Monday period four, then do 2 hours on a Monday of apprenticeship searching. You need to work independently on this, but please ask us for help. And I think this is where lots of people really fall down with apprenticeships because with UCAS, with uni, people ask us for help all the time. But with apprenticeships, we don't get, people don't ask in the same way. So please do ask us. We are here to help you. Okay, so let's have a look at this, at what apprenticeships look like. Or what an apprenticeship search looks like online. As I say, it's not particularly glamorous because it's a government website. Here it is. Um, Nice and functional, but it does work. So there's two different ways that we can do this. You can either put in what kind of job you want to do, and you can put in where you live, or you can browse by general interests. So if you're really not sure to start with, then let's go with general interest. So let's say that we are interested in uh, digital. That's quite broad. Let's go digital. And then we're going to say that we are in NW5 and we're happy. We're going to look at 10 miles. So there are currently 21 apprenticeships available in digital within 10 miles of Camden. And these are apprenticeships of all levels because we haven't searched by levels. So as you can see here, once you've done a search, you can create an account and you can create an alert for that search. So when new things come up in that search, that it will email you. So first one we've got here is a digital support technician at UCL. Great position. Pays £27,000 a year, but it closes in 2 days. So unless you've finished year 13 now and you're really quick, you're probably not going to be able to apply for this one. This is obviously no good for current year 12s, but let's have a look at it. So it's at UCL. It will give you a little summary at the top of what you're going to be doing. You're going to be working in central IT for University College London. It's a level 3 apprenticeship. It's Monday to Friday. There may be a requirement to work evenings or weekends, but it's going to be mainly Monday to Friday. It's 15 months, this one. There are 3 available, so you get all the information here that you need. It gives you a summary of what you're going to do. Voila, and where you're going to be based. It will tell you what the course is going to be. So the course content, so the actual learning that you're doing alongside the job, it covers all that. And it then says at the bottom what you need to apply. So you have to have a 4 in maths and English at GCSE. You have to have a 4 in 5 other subjects. And these are the skills that it wants you to have. And then it will tell you here often what you need to do, what the interview process is like for this job. So this job involves an assessment centre, which I'm going to talk about assessment centres in a bit, and then final stage interviews. And then at the bottom, a little bit about the company. Obviously, by the time you get to interview, they're going to expect you to have researched the company that you're going to apply for. So this is just one place to start and the link there to find out more. This is a great one because if you finish it, they will just employ you on a 3-year fixed term contract and you're starting on 27 grand, which is, not bad at all. So this is not a really good example of a level three apprenticeship. I imagine it will be quite competitive. So scroll down. This is a level six one. So integrated degree apprenticeship. So this is the last one that we'll look at, but just to show you, this is a degree level apprenticeship. So a little bit about the company. Starts on 25 grand, and it tells you what the job is, what the hours are. It starts in September, all that kind of business. And then again, all the information about what you're going to do. So this is a creative and design-based digital role. The what you're going to get, a creative digital design integrated degree, 1 day per week, 4 days per week at the workplace, and 1 day a week at college. And then again, it tells you what you need in order to apply. And there's a little bit less information on this one. They haven't provided as much information as UCL, so you have to do a little bit more digging around to find out about that apprenticeship. But that's just two. And as you can see, you're getting an idea here of what the wage is and what's available. And of course, as you saw, you can change these filters, you can clear them, you can change them at any point, you can put in something really specific, you can even look for a particular company. So this is the place that I would say to start and to definitely set up alerts. Okay, so we've already clarified that the application process can be a bit lengthy. It's totally different to uni. As I say, there is no UCAS for apprenticeships, but they are working on it. So that is worth exploring. The whole process can take several months, not several months, several months. You can be turned down at any stage in the application process. So you might get through stage one and then not get through stage two. That is quite common. You should expect to have several different stages to the application. So you will have to do some kind of application form, usually with a cover letter of some description or an accompanying letter, a bit like a personal statement, but tailored to the job. It's very, very common to have to do some kind of online task or online assessment, or have to go to either at home or have to go to an assessment centre to do an assessment of some sort. Phone interviews or remote interviews are very common, and then a final in-person interview and sometimes another assessment as well. So it can be lengthy. The process can be quite lengthy. The way to prepare is to do an absolute load of research. So research into the company, research into the position, research into the that position more widely across the sector, research into what assessment processes that company uses. If you can, try and find mentors that are in that kind of sector to ask them how you questions, or find mentors that are already apprentices to ask them questions. Two really good bits of two really good resources there are the UCAS apprenticeship pages. Application guides are really good. It's split out into different sectors and it talks a lot about how to start and how to progress through your application. And there's some really good interview guidance on the apprenticeships.gov.uk website as well when you get to that stage. So uh, I'm not going to go into loads of detail about this, but apprenticeship assessments are super common, and you should expect them. If you don't get one, bonus, but do expect one to pop up at some point in this application process. And they cover different types of reasoning, basically. So they will often cover completely depends on the position, of course. But they will often cover numerical reasoning. So work out, this car's traveling at 40 miles an hour. How far will it travel in 4 hours? Like that kind of thing. Verbal reasoning is super common. So comprehension assessments. Read this passage of text and tell me, how old is Bill? How many apples does, Fatima have? Like that kind of thing. You're pulling information out. Situational judgment tests are also very common. So you read a passage of text about, Tim is always late on a Friday, and you're having to pick up his, slack, his work. What are you going to do about that? And they get more complex as they go. In-tray exercises or e-tray exercises. So here's 5 documents that you've been emailed. Sort them out by what order you think you should deal with them in. And gamification assessments. So that would be things like, pipe puzzles, maze puzzles, more often things like pairing words, synonyms and antonyms and things like that. And the way to get good at these is to practice them and to keep doing them. So again, if you want these slides, of course, I can send them to you, and there are some links there to where you can have a go at some of these. Um, Please tell us if you've got an interview because we can help you. We can do mock interviews with you and give you feedback. And we've also got some amazing industry volunteers, like people who said that they're happy to give their time to do mock interviews. So, please approach us because we can absolutely link you up with those people and we can help you as well. Please don't go to interviews unprepared. Please don't go having no idea what you're about to do or about to talk about. Do come and ask us for help. Your careers advisor at your base school can help you. Your head of year can help you, but also Miss Tate at LSU does one-to-one careers appointments for any student who attends the swap, and she is brilliant. She is so experienced in all this kind of stuff. And she will do lots and lots of work with you. Same also over at LSU, Miss Boyd and Miss Field do lots of work around apprenticeship prep. On our Futures Day that's just happened, they did a whole session on assessment centres. So we've got lots of people in the swap who can help out, and lots of people who are kind of friends of the swap who can help out as well. So what now? You're at the end of year 12 or the end of year 13. So how do you decide what to do? How do you make that decision? So I recommend you go to at least one university open day, even if you don't think you want to go, just to see what it's like, because then you might just be able to definitely cross it off and say, no, it's not for me. There are tons of universities in London. Just get on the bus and go to an open day. Lots of them are now finishing for the summer session. They reopen, they restart again in October. So you go then. Do research, look at how likely it is for apprenticeships to be in the sector that you're interested in, because that might change your mind about whether it's viable for you. The LeSwat newsletter and the school bulletins are an absolute treasure trove of events and opportunities. I write the Burley one and I write the LeSwat one and put insight days, masterclasses, work experience, volunteering roles in there every week and every fortnight. Please book them. Please go because that's where you can meet people where who you can say, can I, contact you on LinkedIn? Can I give you my email? Can we talk? Will you talk to me about this? Have you got any mentorships available? What's coming up? And that's the kind of proactive thing you need to be doing as an apprenticeship applicant. Uh, do voluntary work, get work experience, read about the sector you're interested in. So the apprenticeship equivalent of supercurricular work for uni. As I said, network at those insight events. Think about what you want when you leave sixth form. Think about what you want your days to look like. Um, because that is such a big factor in what you want to do. If you're thinking now, I cannot imagine getting up at 6:30 every day and going into an office and being there until 5, then the apprenticeship might not be for you, or might not be for you yet. Maybe in the future, but maybe not now. And the last thing, just really practically, be realistic about money and about what is possible and not possible for you because of your personal situation. If you're not sure, that good old backup UCAS application, please have that in place. Uh, you can always complete a UCAS application and defer it for a year and spend a year or just take a year out and spend a year working or doing some voluntary work or getting some work experience, if that will help you. And right now, Start doing that reading, start doing that research, sign up for these alerts. Please tell your tutor what your plans are. Go to Monday period three and don't just sit there going, oh, I don't know. Or even worse, don't not turn up. Like, go, tell your tutor that you're looking for apprenticeships and use that time. Because again, your tutor is there for you, just like they're there for people applying for university. Book a one-to-one with your school's careers advisor or higher education or pathways person, or if they're not available or you can't get hold of them, Miss Tate at LSU has a online booking system and she's absolutely brilliant. And just be aware that some apprenticeship applications open as early as September and October to start the next year. So they open sort of October 25 to start in August or July 26. Things like the civil service take ages to do theirs. So don't think you can sort of sit on this and sleep on it until March or April. If you're in year 13 now, you get those alerts set up. Get those alert. Well, if you're in year 13 now, get applying. If you're in year 12 now, get those alerts set up. Loads of useful links at the end there. And these are not apprenticeship ones. These are other useful links for stuff that's not uni and not an apprenticeship. So gap years, school leavers schemes, and if you or your child has an EHCP, an education healthcare plan, this is a really good link here looking at supported internships. So helping students with EHCPs transition from a school environment to a work environment. Okay, so that's my email address. If you want to get in touch with me, that link there will take you to the email addresses of all the key staff at the swap. So if you want to contact someone's a head of year or a director or something, and there's also our page there on our website which has some of our careers information, uh, including I think the link to Miss Tate's booking system. But don't use that now because the link might change in September. So wait until September to book in those appointments. Great. So I'm just going to have a look through the Q&A. I'm going to see if we've got any questions. If you are happy and you're done, then please feel free to leave and to have a lovely evening. If you do want to ask me a question, pop a question in the Q&A now, and I will do my best to answer. So the first question, can the slides be emailed? Yes, please. If you email me, I will reply to you with the slides. This will also be on YouTube. So if you want to watch me chatting through all this again, you can watch me again, and I will aim to get that up tomorrow. Next question. Are there any apprenticeships in accounting? Yes, great sector. Accounting is one of the sectors that is really leaning into apprenticeships because they want people to have up-to-date qualifications and information, and you can start doing your professional accounting qualifications while you're training. Even if you do a degree, you've still got to do your professional accounting qualifications. So accounting, yeah, is a really, really good sector that works brilliantly for apprenticeships. There are no more questions at the minute, so I'll just have another 2 minutes, see if anything pops up, and if not, I will let you get on with your evening. Okay, couple more. What's an internship? So internships are short placements at a company. Most internships are unpaid, voluntary work placements, so they're very common in sectors like arts and media, as I say, because those sectors are so oversubscribed. Um, People are willing to do internships and essentially work for a little bit for free. It's work experience, so it can be good because you can get a lot of you can learn a lot about the sector and you can learn a lot about the job. But obviously, the downside to them is they are not great for young people who just can't afford to go and do a couple of months of full-time unpaid work. So they, although they are common, they are not always particularly accessible for everyone. Um, there is pressure on industries to stop using internships, especially ones that are longer term and are full time and are unpaid. And there are now a few paid internships popping up. They differ from the apprenticeship because you don't get a qualification and they're shorter. It is worth looking out for them if you are able to do them. And certainly if there are paid ones, then they can be great. But as I say, they are not always particularly accessible for lots of young people or older people, in fact, for anyone. Uh, is there an apprenticeship in digital forensics? I'm afraid I don't know the exact apprenticeships that are, in every single sector. My advice on that would be to do a bit of research, do a bit of searching around, use the government website, just use a search engine and see what comes up because I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. If I'm in year 13 has just left, until what date can I get advice from you? You can get advice from us next year. So in your what would be your year 14, you can always drop us an email, and we will be happy to give advice and to help you out. Obviously, you won't get the same level of support as a student who is in school, and the support will very likely be remote. But we are more than happy to give help where we can. I'm afraid I can't send the session as a recorded session because it would be far too big to email. But what I do is I upload it to our YouTube channel and then I can send you the link to that. So if you email me, then I will send you the link to it once it's uploaded. How common are electricians' apprenticeships? Now, competitive are they? Fairly common. I mean, electrician apprenticeships are part of what people used to think of as apprenticeships, sort of. People used to think apprenticeships were all in things like trades or beauty. Now it's much, much wider, but there are still electrician apprenticeships available. The difficulty with getting them can be that electricians tend to be self-employed or tend to be quite small companies. So they can only take on one apprentice at a time because it's often just, one guy or a small number or a small number of electricians. So it's harder for them to take on multiple apprentices, but they are definitely available. And how competitive they are depends on the location often. There are some electricians apprenticeships through bigger companies and bigger institutions. Looking, if you go through kind of engineering route, you can sometimes do electrician apprenticeships through that. You can also do electrician apprenticeships through the army. Um, and there are, as I say, there are some, but they tend to be smaller employers or self-employed people, and so therefore smaller numbers of apprenticeships. Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for sticking with me on right at the end of the academic year and on a warm evening. I hope this has been useful. And if you've been to any other webinars this year, I hope they've been useful. I'm always happy with feedback. Have a fantastic summer. I will be back in work in the middle of August for level 3 results day. So if you email me between Friday and the 13th of August, I won't be responding, but I will get back to you from then. Thank you very much, everyone.